So, what happens when the rains just stop? When the land cracks open and hope itself seems to run dry? Well, most people would probably leave. But one village, they refused to surrender to their fate. This is the incredible story of Hivre Bazar.
Just think about that for a second. This isn't a story about waiting for a hero to show up or for some help from the outside. Nope. This is a story about a community deciding that their fate wasn't written in stone just yet. And that single idea right there is the key to everything that comes next.
And this was the cycle, a devastatingly simple chain reaction that basically defined life in Hivre Bazar for years. You have to understand, this wasn't just a bad season. It was like a slow-motion collapse, hollowing out the entire community from the inside.
Okay, so this brings us to our first chapter, Dry Land, Broken Hopes. Because to really understand how they won, we first have to feel just how much they had lost.
Right, so in the village of Hivre Bazar in Maharashtra, this was the grim reality. Year after year, the monsoon would fail. The wells, they ran dry. The fields turned to dust. Hope wasn't just fading. For a lot of people, it was already long gone. The only choice left, it seemed, was to just walk away.
But what happens when one person just refuses to accept that reality? In the middle of all this despair, a new leader and a really radical new thought emerged. And this, right here, is where the whole story pivots. Wow. You can just feel the exhaustion in that question, can't you? It's a complete surrender to forces way beyond their control. They felt abandoned not just by the weather, but, by fate itself.
And this was the answer that changed everything. Just notice the incredible shift here. Popatrao Pawar didn't offer another prayer for rain, he offered a plan to manage it. He completely reframed the problem, taking it from one of helpless faith to one of human action and control.
So, inspired by this totally new way of thinking, the villagers decided to take matters into their own hands, literally. They chose to stop waiting for some miracle and started building one themselves.
And their plan was just brilliant in its simplicity. It wasn't some huge, complicated project. It was 4 interconnected rules. First, conserve every single drop of water by building dams and trenches. Second, heal the land itself by planting thousands and thousands of trees. Third, and this part is key, they brought in social rules. They banned crops that use way too much water, like sugarcane. And finally, everyone had to pitch in, mandatory labor. So this wasn't just about infrastructure, it was a whole new social contract where everyone had a real stake in the outcome.
That's not just a metaphor. Every trench they dug, every single tree they planted, it wasn't just manual labor. It was a physical act of faith in their own future, a declaration that they believed this barren land could actually live again.
So, what was the result of all this backbreaking work and this incredible unity? Well, the village became an example for the entire nation. The transformation was, it was nothing short of miraculous. Just try to picture that transformation. The exact same land, once defined by nothing but dust and cracks, was now lush and vibrant. The underground water table actually rose, the wells filled back up, and for the first time in years, the main color you'd see in Hivre Bazar was green. This table really shows you the scale of that turnaround. Environmentally, they went from drought to greenery. Economically, they went from poverty and people leaving to local prosperity. But look at that last row. That might be the most important one. They went from despair and hopelessness to self-confidence and unity. They didn't just fix their land, they healed their entire community.
And these aren't just, abstract numbers on a chart. These are tangible, life-changing results. A stable income from selling milk, food growing in their own fields, kids going back to school. This is what their victory actually looked like in day-to-day life.
This quote really gets right to the heart of it all, doesn't it? The victory wasn't just about the water coming back, it was the realization that they had the power within themselves to make a change. They didn't wait around for the government or for outside aid. They became their own solution.
And because of all this, Hivre Bazar is no longer just some small village in Maharashtra. It's a beacon of hope. It's a case study. It's powerful proof of what can happen with community-led development all across India. It shows what's possible when people, not just policy, drive the change.
What a beautiful, almost poetic way to sum it all up. Scientifically, it was their water management that worked, but the outcome felt so incredible, so miraculous, that it almost seemed like nature itself was rewarding them for their unity and their hard work. So, as we finish, we're left with this really powerful question. This was a story about water, sure, but it's really about leadership, community, and the profound power of just refusing to give up.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other impossible challenges could we solve if we just decided to face them together?